This is the plow. Magnus Carlsen played it against Ali Reza Firouzja, and right now I'm going to go over their game. Starts off with Ali Reza going a6, pretty much giving away his entire advantage from Magnus going h4. Magnus decides to take the center. Ali Reza pushes his b pawn. Magnus pushes his d pawn, and then Ali Reza puts the bishop out, attacking this pawn, and then we have bishop out defending the pawn by Magnus. Then we have pawn forwards, knight out, c5, and c3. Now defending the pawn after it got attacked. And we have knight out. Now we have two attackers on this pawn, and Magnus decides to defend it with the queen. And now the computer really wants Ali Reza to play d5 here, but instead he takes, which seems natural, but it's not actually that good because after Magnus takes, he has a really nice square for his knight. So we have knight out, and instead, if he was to play d5 here, Magnus would have had to put his knight on d2 and maneuvered it to a nicer square. So we have knight g4 by Ali Reza, which is not a good move, although it looks good because this pawn can't go backwards to attack it, and this pawn's already past it. Like if this knight was to go here and this pawn wasn't here, you'd probably just push it and kick the knight out. But because the pawn's passed, it looks like this is okay, but actually it's not that good. So we have bishop out, and then the knight goes out, attacks the bishop, wants to trade the knight for the bishop because bishops are worth a little bit more than the knights. But Magnus says no, drops it back, and then we have h5, the reverse plow from Ali Reza. Thinks it's good, but it's actually not because Magnus here can play d5. Although he doesn't see it, he castles, and Ali Reza plays d5 himself, finally, and it looks a bit equal right now. Magnus has a slight advantage, and he plays e5, locking down the center. Now this bishop just looks terrible. Can't really do anything right now. And we have bishop out, attacking this hanging pawn. Magnus defends it with g3. We have queen out, attacking this pawn. It is defended, but we have king g2 by Magnus. It's a preemptive move because this queen and this knight are both attacking this square, and you're just moving out of the way of the queen here. So we have knight back by Ali Reza, attacking here. And we have queen over, just defending this in the center, keeping everything defended. Magnus is really good at defense. Sorry. We have rook over by Ali Reza, and then here, I don't know what I'd do. I maybe move a rook, but Magnus sees rerouting his knight and defending this pawn, allowing his bishop to trade off for the better bishop that Ali Reza has, the dark squared bishop. So we have queen a5. Ali Reza offers a queen trade. Magnus declines the queen trade because it's better for white to have a queen in this position. I don't understand why, but Magnus apparently does. We have g6 by Ali Reza. Then we have a3 by Magnus. Queen drops back. And then we have bishop d3. And now, instead of castling, Ali Reza marches his king over. Magnus plays queen d2. Ali Reza marches his king up. And now, Magnus finally puts his bishop on this square to try to trade off. And Ali Reza takes his bishop. Queen takes. We have queen back, offering another queen trade. And right here, what do you think's better? Trading the queens or not trading the queens? The move is not to trade the queens. It's better to play with a queen as white, like I said a second ago. And we have queen out by Ali Reza and knight in, attacking these two vulnerable squares by black now. And we have knight to the side. Now we have f3 by Magnus, and the only square that the knight can retreat to is h6. It doesn't look too good, so we have g4. Magnus g4 is an amazing move. It's the only one that actually keeps the advantage, the big advantage at least. There's a couple other moves like a4 or like rook h1 or something, but those are crazy moves that I don't think anyone would see. Knight c4 by Ali Reza, attacking the b2 pawn, and now a crazy tactic by Magnus, sacrificing this pawn, but you can't actually take it, because if you take it, then Magnus takes it with the rook, and after queen a3, we have queen f6. If the king drops to this square, we can just take the rook, or we can go knight here. But if the king goes to g8, then we take on h5, g takes back, king h3, we have rook over, and we're just going to completely crush Alireza in this position. So instead of taking the pawn, he drops his knight back. And now we have rook over, defending the pawn that was just attacked by the knight. So we have knight back, trying to defend if he can. She cannot, but Magnus plays king g3. Kind of a waiting move. Kind of just, I don't know what it is really, but Alireza plays rook f8. Magnus drops his queen back, threatening the knight over here. And we have knight back, threatening this pawn now. It is defended, but Magnus gets it undefended. And he can take, but then we have either queen here or bishop here. And then we have bishop back, rook over, hitting the knight. Now Alireza does play it. And Magnus has this amazing move, bishop takes, but he doesn't play it. He plays the other move that's still pretty good. You can see the valuation. Magnus is still up 3 points, and it's all on position because Alireza's up a piece, 1 pawn. So his position's got to be a lot better if he's up 3.2. So we have queen back over defending the knight, and now Magnus plays it. Bishop takes g6. You cannot take it because then you have queen g7, trading the queens. Rook takes back, and we have king h6, and this crazy move, knight f7. Now, if you play king back, we have mate in 5 by Magnus, knight h6, and now you want to delay it as much as possible, so we have bishop blocks it, and rook takes, the knight blocks it, rook takes, rook blocks it, knight takes. Now you're forced to take the knight, and you get pawn checkmated. Crazy checkmate in 5, but that's why you don't take the bishop. So instead of taking the bishop, Alireza decides to take the pawn here. Magnus takes back. We have knight jumping out, desperate, trying to defend, doing as much as he possibly can. We have knight h5 check, and king cannot take the bishop because then you have checkmate in 1. So we have king back, and then knight check, king back, knight check, and they draw. No, I'm just kidding. They don't offer a draw, but king goes back, and we have queen takes c8. Now, Alireza cannot take back because then the rook takes, and you have checkmate. So you have to just do a random check in the position. So we have knight check, king drops back, and then he takes the rook, and then there is a lot of checkmates in this position. Bishop here is checkmate in 6. Knight here is also checkmate in 6. Magnus doesn't play either of them. He just plays queen back. Now we have Alireza threatening this pawn, and Magnus defends it with a knight check, so the king must move. And now we have bishop takes, knight takes, and the killer blow. See if you can find it. It is knight takes e6, forking the queen, king, and rook, the royal fork, and in the position, Alireza resigns. That's how you win with the plow. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.